Hello everyone and welcome to Table for One. My name is Tommy Hensel, and if you've been following me either on my videos or on my blog at tableforoneplease.com, you will know that I am in the middle of a cookbook challenge. I have started at one end of this bookshelf you see behind you, and I'm working my way all the way through to the other side. Now I'm only on cookbook number 4, but I'm keeping with it. So what I'm doing is I am reviewing the cookbooks. I am then using a random number generator to pick a page, and then I'm cooking a recipe from that page, whether it's hard or easy or whatever, I'm gonna go for it. So now I'm up to cookbook number 4. This one is called Southern Living Cookbook for Two. Now, I know it seems a little counterintuitive that a Table for One blog is reviewing a cookbook for two, but as I said, I'm working on cookbooks from one end to the other in the order that they appear on the shelf. Southern Living Cookbook for Two is pretty much exactly what it says it is. It's a cookbook focused on cooking meals for 2 people for the most part, and we'll talk about some of the strange anomalies in this cookbook in a minute. This is another one of the cookbooks that I inherited from my grandmother. She was born in 1898 and she died in 2001, so she lived to be 102 years old, and over that time she collected a great number of cookbooks. This one was given to her in 1987 as a Christmas gift from 2 of her cousins. Now in 1950, my grandfather passed away suddenly, and my grandmother never remarried. And her sister, my great aunt Margaret, who was the only one of her many sisters who never married, moved in with my grandmother, and by the time I came along in the mid-1960s, they were firmly established as grandmother and Aunt Margaret living together. And Aunt Margaret died in the late 90s, so up until then, they were like a married couple living together, and they cooked for 2 for the most part. So this was certainly a perfect Christmas gift for them in the late 80s, when they would have both been approaching 90 years old, but were still healthy and living at home and cooking for themselves. So great cookbook, kind of a little family history to it. So it's kind of nice for me to see the inscription to my grandmother in the front of this book. Now, Southern Living magazine, as many of you know, is a magazine that has been published since the late 1960s. It was first published in 1966, and starting in 1979, they started to produce an annual recipe book. Southern Living, of course, focuses on all things Southern, but they have a huge focus on food. So in addition to that annual recipe book, they did a lot of specialty cookbooks like this one. So Southern Living Cookbook for Two by Audrey P. Stelle, as I said, is exactly what it says it is for the most part. One of the things I love about this is her first couple of chapters are tips: how to shop for 2, how to store food appropriately for 2, what to do with leftovers, some nice tips if you are struggling with what do I do when I'm cooking for 2. Then there are 55 meal plans. What she does for the first several chapters is create full meal plans based on themes. So there's breakfast themes, there are brunch themes, there's to-go lunches, there's special occasion dinners, on and on, which is kind of nice. So if you follow it, you can have an entire meal that includes appetizer, soup or salad or both, main course, dessert, and it's all thematic in some way. So that's kind of fun because you could actually cook your way through those for a whole year and never have to repeat a meal. Then later on in the cookbook, there's the traditional recipes that you get in any cookbook, separated by appetizer, main courses, soups, desserts, etc., all designed for 2 people. But in between is a very strange, kind of counterintuitive chapter, and it's an entire chapter about how to cook meals for gigantic numbers of people, like buffet meals for 25, 30, 40 people. So I found myself thinking, okay, here's a cookbook for 2. What the heck is this chapter about cooking for giant numbers of people doing in a cookbook for 2? But some of the recipes in that section are actually kind of cool recipes. So I figure, you might be able to extract one of the appetizers or one of the buffet things and actually create something kind of fun for you and whoever you're cooking for. But still, I did find it a little weird that a cookbook for 2 had this relatively large section about cooking for giant numbers of people. Still, what I would say about this cookbook, look it up. It's very easy. There's almost nothing super complicated in this cookbook that you couldn't easily cook at any time. So for somebody who is a relatively young cook or an entry-level cook or somebody who just doesn't want to be bothered with super complicated preparations, this is an excellent cookbook, and it's proportioned, except for that one weird chapter, it's proportioned for 2. So if you're like me and you're a table for 1 and you're cooking for 1, you could actually make any of these recipes and have 1 left over. Or she has a chapter about doubling recipes and then how to store or freeze things so that you can have them for later. So anyway, I think this is a great cookbook. Southern Living never fails to impress me with their recipes. So I would say look this one up. You might be able to find it in a library, but certainly you can go onto Amazon.com and purchase it there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my random number generator. The recipes start on page 17 and go to page 253. So I'm now going to hit my random number generator, and it picked page 31. So let's see what wonders await us on page 31. 31, there we are. Okay, so the recipe here is in the picnic chapter. It's called Picnic Salad Rolls. So I'm going to be making picnic salad rolls from page 31 of Southern Living Cookbook for 2.